I'm Sammi.
And I'm Nicole.
And we are Spooky Sleuths.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Welcome back to Spooky Sleuths. We are bringing you a new episode today and getting a little bit culty again.
I can't wait.
We are going to talk about the FLDS, and full disclosure, we have attempted this video recording 4 times now.
So I feel like I'm basically an FLDS expert because I've heard it so much.
And I'm starting to get weirder with how I pronounce it because I've read it so much. Okay, so let's get right into it. A few trigger warnings: child abuse, child sexual abuse, incest, and, like most cults, religious overtones. I also just want to throw a little disclaimer that the FLDS is not recognized by the mainstream Mormon church. While the FLDS and the LDS both use the Book of Mormon, the FLDS church practices polygamy, while the LDS church members say they obey state and federal laws by not practicing polygamy.
I am sure that they do.
In addition to plural marriage, Mormon fundamentalist beliefs often include the following principles: the law of consecration, also known as the United Order, the Adam God teachings taught by Brigham Young and other early leaders of the LDS Church, the principle of blood atonement, the exclusion of black men from the priesthood, and the belief that missionaries should teach without purse or scrip. Mormon fundamentalists believe both that these principles were accepted by the LDS Church at one time, but that the LDS Church wrongly abandoned or changed them, in large part due to its desire by its leadership and members to assimilate into mainstream American society, and to avoid the persecutions and conflict that had characterized the church throughout its early years. Now I have some quotes.
Oh, yay.
He, Cain, was cursed with a black skin, and he is a father of the racially inappropriate term, people. He is used by the devil as a mortal man to do great evils. If you young people were to marry a black man, you could not be a priesthood person, even if you repented. You could not stay in this work. The FLDS priesthood history class in 1995.
So it's 1995 and we're still being racist.
Oh, it's 2024 and we're still being racist.
That's true.
The people grew so evil. The men started to marry the men. The women started to marry the women.
Oh, how awful.
This is the worst evil act you can do next to murder.
Oh my gosh.
It is like murder.
Don't I know it?
It is like murder. Whenever people commit that sin, the Lord destroys them.
Those two are not comparable.
That was from a Warren Jeffs sermon in 2001.
Oh, so we're racist and bigots. Yes. Homophobic. Gotcha.
And also misogynistic.
Yes.
The women, if she is not careful, will be overbearing and always ask permission for what she wants. Ladies, build up your husbands by being submissive. Warren Jeffs sermon in 2005.
I hate being overbearing.
We don't lie on this channel.
I'm very overbearing and I'm not submissive.
In 1890, the leaders of mainstream Mormonism abandoned the practice of polygamy and a deal with the federal government to gain statehood for Utah. And a few various offshoots were developed. You have FLDS, and then there are others as well.
Okay.
It's not just like FLDS and then the Mormon Church. There was other offshoots.
Okay.
One called the Order is a doozy. We'll have to talk about that in a few episodes. Today, we are going to discuss the Fundamentalist Church of Latter-day Saints, otherwise known as the FLDS. The FLDS has continued to practice to this day, residing for most of the 20th century around the town of Hilldale and Colorado City on the Utah-Arizona border. This location allowed the sect to thrive with relatively few issues, given the town's distance from neighboring populations and the possibility of crossing the border to avoid raids, like border jumping to avoid the police. The government has attempted to interfere in the past. In a 1953 raid ordered by Arizona governor, provoked media outrage over the separation of children from their families and left the governor's political career in shambles, which bolstered the resolve of the polygamists to resist a government viewed as infringing on their right to freedom of religion.
No. You're
They were
breaking the
marrying
law.
They were marrying 10-year-olds. That's the issue here, not your religion.
Like the adults were marrying 10-year-olds?
The adults were marrying 10-year-olds.
That is definitely the issue. It's not that they're trying to take away your religion. They're trying to protect children.
Full disclosure, my dog is acting like a complete maniac. So if you hear thundering little click, clack, click, clack of his nails, he's fine.
We're sorry.
He has the zoomies. I'm so sorry. But we've done this 5 times now, and I don't want to do it again. At the turn of the 21st century, membership was at an estimated 10,000 and mostly sat around the Hilldale, Colorado City hub with smaller groups dispersed as far away as Mexico and British Columbia.
There's not even 10,000 people in the town we live in.
No. And Rulon Jeffs ruled for more than 15 years after dissolving a council government system and establishing one-man rule. So prior to Warren's father, Rulon, it was like a board that just made all the decisions, and then he changed it to just one man,
him.
just the prophet. When he died in 2002, this power was passed on to his son, Warren, who preceded him as prophet, taking on the responsibility of directly relaying the word of God to his fathers. Rulon was not without controversy either. He had many wives.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
This 80-year-old man was marrying 15, 16-year-old girls.
That's appropriate.
Absolutely. You want to hear something even more appropriate? When Rulon died, Warren inherited a lot of the wives, including his mother.
Excuse me while I go vomit.
Yeah,
I'm really hoping that it was just like a ceremony type spiritual,
like, so she wouldn't be
connection,
so
and
she
not
wouldn't
a sexual relationship.
Right. I hope that it was more for his status, like to have that many wives.
Right.
Warren Jeffs ruled with an iron fist. He outlawed activities like swimming and watching television and took exclusive control over the practice of spiritual marriage. Warren chose like every wife's husband and every husband's wife. He determined when a wife should be reassigned following an alleged deviation by her husband from the path of righteousness.
So I could get into an argument with my husband. He could go and say I committed an outrageous act and get me moved from his household.
And on the flip side of that, your husband could say, no, I don't want to sell my business to the church. You know, I want to keep this income. And he wouldn't be worthy of having his family anymore, and they would take you then.
Because he wanted to keep the business that he built?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Make it make sense.
It doesn't. None of it. Former members have alleged that Jeffs took it upon himself to reduce competition for wives by excommunicating younger males. Did I say that? Excommunicating younger males.
Yes. So, of course he has to, because all these 60, 70, 80-year-old men have 10 brides and 8 of them are underage.
You needed 3 wives to enter the celestial kingdom.
Oh, yes. You're not going to have enough women for men.
They collected women, like as a commodity, but they're like the Book of Mormon, or I don't know if it's in there, but what they go by is you have to have 3 wives to make it into the celestial kingdom, like the highest heaven. The young men who were thrown out of the cult with no money or any other resource became known as the Lost Boys. The FLDS members signed their wealth over to the leader, and FLDS women were encouraged to apply for federal benefits designed for single mothers.
Rather than Warren just fulfilling his responsibilities and taking care of his people.
Right. So I'm not saying that these women didn't need the assistance, because I'm sure they did. But Warren Jeffs and the FLDS had millions. There's no reason any of them should have went hungry.
Yeah, and they didn't qualify for these benefits.
I'm getting sick. I can feel it. The cult's polygamy is heavily focused upon. However, less attention has been given to its racism and homophobia. It is rumored that the FLDS members viewed the 1978 decision of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to allow all males, regardless of race, to hold the priesthood as a church, the church's ultimate spiritual downfall.
Oh, how dare they!
Recordings of Warren Jeffs' sermons have been proclaiming that the black race is the people which the devil has always been able to use to bring evil into the earth.
That is just disgusting.
It absolutely is. It's not cool, not okay. And people followed this man regardless of still follow this man, regardless of how messed up this is. Since 2005, the FLDS has been under intense scrutiny. This was the year that the prophet went on the run after a warrant for his arrest was issued on charges of the conspiracy to commit rape and sexual conduct with a minor. During that same year, 8 other FLDS men were arrested on various charges, and the judge decided to freeze $100 million of the group's assets.
So this man's is sitting on $100 million, but these women can't feed their families?
Yes. While Jeffs was on the lam, he managed to organize the transfer of several hundred of those families. He transferred those most faithful to him to a large compound outside of El Dorado, Texas, where dormitories and an enormous church-like structure was constructed. The group purchased $2 million worth of property in 5 locations along the remote eastern flank of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. It's about 175 miles southwest of Denver. The 1,691-acre ranch that they called Yearning for Zion in El Dorado should have provided the seclusion that the group needed.
That's a lot of land.
But peace was not at hand. In April 2008, after what turned out to be a prank call, police raided the compound and took 460 children into protective custody.
Oh, wow.
This is what the media had the giant outrage about.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that this was executed properly.
Mm-hmm.
However, they did in fact face criminal investigation into charges that young girls had been routinely forced to marry and engage in sexual relations with men who were often their elders by several decades. So it's not like it was unfounded.
Right. And they went in to protect these children.
But it was blown not way out of proportion, because that's a lot of children to take from their families.
Yeah.
But it wasn't without reason.
Yeah.
They could have done it better, but it was an issue. Warren himself was married to at least 2 minors, the youngest of which was 12 years old.
That's just disgusting. What do you want? No.
And it's not just like marriage. This is marriage, sexual relations, expected to be popping babies out, the whole 9. Jeffs managed to ascend to the FBI's top 10 most wanted list before his capture at a routine traffic stop in late 2006. I think they also had a kind of an inkling on where he was at, because they were capturing photos of him at like Disney World.
Yeah, let's go to Disney World while my people starve. That's cool.
And that was in late 2006 that he was arrested. In 2007, Jeffs tried to hang himself in prison while awaiting trial. If that doesn't scream guilt, I don't know what does.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he wasn't successful at it.
A year later, he was sentenced by a Utah judge to 2 consecutive terms of 5 years to life. This means he will serve at least 10 years for marrying a 14-year-old girl to her 19-year-old cousin.
Oh. Not even the age difference. Well, yes, the age difference. She was 14. But they were cousins.
First cousins. Not even
Not like
way down the
fourth
line.
cousins 3 times removed.
Right. And this 14-year-old girl was Alyssa Wall, who you've probably heard of from the documentary Keep Sweet, Pray, and Obey on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic documentary. You should absolutely check it out if you haven't already. Her story is one of the reasons I started looking into the FLDS years ago. I read her autobiography during my senior year health class in 2010 instead of studying health, which you can see how that's benefited me. It's titled Stolen Innocence, My Story of Growing Up in a Polygamous Sect, Becoming a Teenage Bride, and Breaking Free of Warren Jeffs. I highly recommend reading this book. It goes into even more detail of her experience than the Keep Sweet documentary does. This is where I got a lot of information from today's episode, along with the documentary, the book and the documentary. If you thought that would be the end of Warren Jeffs' involvement with the church, you are unfortunately incorrect. Reported by Fox News in August of 2022, so just 2 years ago, a new edict was issued by Warren Jeffs, which raised alarm among some members of the church. The document appears to be a call for some people to return to the FLDS and bring their children with them. Others may be sent away. The revelation issued in June 2022 appears to be from Jeffs himself, but said attributed by his son Helaman Jeffs. Pray that Warren Jeffs will go free, and he can meet you in your congregation soon, all peoples who desire to be members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on earth. And that's a portion of the document.
Man, that Helaman is a hella man.
Sammi, why are you like this? Her boyfriend's kids call her Super Sussy Sammi. Anyways, back to Warren. It also states that the baptisms and sealings and celestial plural marriage unions will take place for those that the Lord revealed to the main key holder, Warren Jeffs, who is worthy. And appears to call for some to return to the faith, declaring that fathers desiring restoral can gather with their birth children, and only who was their wives on earth with their birth children, present and family groups in your family homes where they dwell. Now, that's super wordy, but the way I break that down in my head is if this husband is with this wife and they have these children together and they are still together, they can return.
Okay. But if one of them is not
with the faith anymore, then none of them can return. It also warns that some may be cast out. The Lord love us all, yet I cannot allow sin living to dwell among my church membership any longer. Appearing heart, soul, well-tested, pure, faithful, and true, living by every word of Jesus Christ. He also asked members to send letters with photos and information about themselves and their families. He routinely has sent out books like this, filled with his revelations, but it had died down until recently. And by recently, I mean 2022, whenever this article was published. For members and observers, the latest active is concerning because of the real-world impact it could have on people's lives. One member stated that they had family members who have already had their children taken away in the last few weeks in 2022.
Yeah.
So he's calling all these people to come back, but he's already displacing families.
That is just awful.
People are being told that they are no longer worthy enough to have their children. Children are being taken and redistributed to others. In the past, Jeffs has told some members that they are unworthy to be a member, and they've been sent away, cut off from the family ties that the FLDS brings, and sometimes income, housing. Others have had their families split up with wives and children moving in with other families. This sometimes triggered custody issues if one relative was with the church and the other left the faith. This article also stated that wasn't what they want to do. They don't feel like they have a choice. There's no consent when it's coerced. There are people that were back to their families that have been faithful and waiting for this call for 10, 15 years or longer, and they're ecstatic.
I just don't understand how you're out. You know that it's wrong.
Why would you go back?
Yes. Or how do you not see that you were in a cult? A bad cult.
And a lot of people that do get out of cults come to terms and educate. There's a lot of education out there now, especially on TikTok, YouTube, podcasts.
Right.
There's all kinds of education out there now about people leaving these cults and trying to teach people the warning signs, the red flags.
Yeah.
But I don't understand the draw, because polygamy is illegal. Adults marrying children is illegal.
Yes.
Laws are useless if they aren't enforced, and it feels like so far nobody has really been willing to enforce them. Because, yes, they pulled out Warren Jeffs, but that doesn't stop everything else that's still happening.
Yeah,
he's still marionetting everything.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? I barely scratched the surface of this, like, in all the cults I researched, because there's just so much when you dive deep. Let us know.
We could do like 4 episodes on each cult, but
absolutely.
Instead of doing the same episode 4 times.
Exactly. Let us know what you guys think. If you're on YouTube, leave us a comment down below. What cult would you like us to talk about next? Give us a follow on our TikTok, Instagram. Rate our podcast so we can get this story out to as many people as we can.
And make sure you smash that like button.
Oh, God, not again. And on that note, stay spooky, friends.